A lot of people needed new teeth, and the smiles from all of them that you get when they get their final denture in there and they look in the mirror. And for me, throughout my whole career, that's probably one of the most rewarding things.
How can a set of skills lead you down the path to success? That's what we're setting out to answer on the EdUp Canada podcast. I'm your host, Michael Sangster. Join me as we unpack how leaders around the world have taken training and skills and turned that into a lasting career. Now let's learn together. Welcome back to the EdUp Canada podcast. In recognition of Dental Assistants Recognition Week, awkward sentence to start off with, we're highlighting the essential role that dental assistants play in building a strong and safe oral healthcare system for Canadians. We've seen a lot of attention around dental care with the national plan and other conversations that have been going on over the past couple of years. So today, I'm pleased to be joined by Natalie Marsh. She's the president of the Canadian Dental Assistants Association, the national voice of the profession. And we're going to be talking about the evolving role of dental assistants, the importance of standardization and advocacy, and what it takes to sustain a strong oral health workforce across the country. Important issues. So with that, Natalie, welcome to the EdUp Canada podcast.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
We like to have these genuine conversations with people that are focused on training the workforce we need in Canada. So let's kick it right off. What's the demand right now for dental assistants across Canada?
The demand is very significant, but it varies from province to province, and as well as rural versus urban areas. So if you looked at every area individually, you will probably find a demand everywhere.
Are we seeing growing interest, or is it waning? What are you seeing across the sector across Canada?
I think there's a growing interest, because I know some of the schools and colleges that I've had interactions with have waitlists for individuals to enter the program. For many, it's an enticing career because it's a one-year program. It's something they can enter the workforce, after 12 months instead of being in university or something for 4 years. Good opportunity for, I guess, people with families that don't want to be away from their family for a long period of time studying.
Are we seeing a increased the dental assistants? Do they tend to be in one practice, or do they move around into different operations?
Normally, they stick with one practice. Personally, I was in a practice for 35 years. One dentist, same dentist, worked with her knee to knee for 35 years till she retired.
Love that, knee to knee.
So I've been around the block for a long time.
That's closer than a relationship most people have with their sibling.
I lasted longer than her marriage.
35 years next to each other, that you know each other inside out by that point.
We were best friends. Still are.
That's awesome. What needs to happen to ensure the workforce pipeline keeps pace with demand in Canada? Is there any advice from your association or things that you're looking for?
One of the issues we see is retention in the profession. You can look and see how many individuals are entering and graduating from dental assisting. You need to focus on how many are retained in the field. Provincially and nationally, dental assistants are surveyed, and some concerns are raised by dental assistants. Like there's a need for fair wages and compensation for what they provide the industry. If you want DAs to stay in the profession, you need change. There's a requirement for DAs, as there is in most healthcare professionals, to hold a license, meets the requirements of CE, and it's all mandated, and it all costs extra money.
Is there a significant CE continuing education that goes on within the sector?
That varies province to province. Every province is regulated by its own regulatory body. In Nova Scotia, from my personal experience, we needed 36 hours of CE over 3 years. So not a whole lot, but it was broken into categories, so you have to make sure the best part of it is clinical. You're not just taking things of interest.
So talk to me. You were in the sector before we get into some kind of advocacy and those kind of issues. Rewarding career, enjoyed it,
I loved it.
loved it. I
Loved
have
it.
the pleasure of getting to see Natalie. The rest of you don't. She lit up when I asked that question.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and,
loved it. I started when I was 18.
and obviously, it's nice to see a national dental care program being put together that has some wrinkles and some warts to start, but at least we're getting more people onto dental care across the country, aren't we?
Oh, definitely. I think it was one of the best things they've ever put together.
I didn't I'm gonna ask you a question that maybe you don't expect, but it's healthcare, right? And we don't
It
think of it
is.
that way, but it really is healthcare, isn't it?
It is healthcare. A lot stems from your mouth when it comes to your body and your health.
I'm gonna Have you got a story, a patient, somebody you think you changed their life with the dentist because of what you did? I had a great interaction with someone the other day from the Dental Hygienists Association, and she started talking when we were in a parliamentary committee about the 90-year-old who'd never had dental care, and they're actually improving their health care by getting in the mouth because of the new healthcare plan. Have you got a patient, without names, obviously, but you made a difference?
There's a lot of them over the last year. A lot of patients that hadn't been to a dentist in years and years and years. And I would say the biggest thing that we saw when we started seeing the patients with CDCP, because it was the oldest population that we were seeing first, were a lot of dentures. A lot of people needed new teeth. And the smiles from all of them that you get when they get their final denture in there and they look in the mirror. And for me, throughout my whole career, that's probably one of the most rewarding things being a dental assistant is seeing the smile on the people's face when they leave, the patients, and how happy they are, that they can smile and not feel embarrassed.
So we try and talk to politicians and stakeholders, but also to students on this podcast. You would call this a very rewarding career. I'm gonna guess a little tough on the body though, isn't it?
You have to be very conscious of your posture when you're a dental assistant. And it's one of the things that I talk a lot to the younger assistants about because I'll see them walking down the hallway and their shoulders are already crunched. It's like, straighten up that back. You have to be really conscious when you're sitting there at a chair. You know, your shift could be 9, 10 hours a day and you're up and down a little bit. But when you're sitting, you have to work on keeping your back straight. Make sure you're at the right height. Otherwise, yes, you're going to be hunched over and you're going to feel it.
Yeah, you're gonna pay a price long term on the body.
Oh, you certainly do. I guess that's one of the things I would say I'm proud of, that I still walk very straight at
After
my age.
after 35 years. Um, how important is the training, the testing, the professional expectations that are aligned across provinces? Talk to me a little bit about what does it look like to become a dental assistant?
So as I said, it is only a one-year program, but the whole program is nothing but dental. You're not going in, you don't have math class, you don't have biology class. You are doing everything that is dental. And when you think of how important it is to have someone properly trained that's gonna go into your mouth and work side by side with the dentist, training is of the utmost importance. Um, let me look to see what I did
I
right on that
I
one.
like I like the cadence. We're kinda rapid firing some questions here, and I kinda like it because 'cause I'm getting to know your sector.
Yeah.
Let me Where are you at with national standards? And if I'm trained in Nova Scotia, can I go work in Ontario? Is there work to do? Are we pretty good about it? Where are we at?
There is there is still work to do. Every province has its own scope of practice. A lot of the, intraoral duties and other duties that you can do overlap, but there are still some that you could probably do in Alberta, but you can't do in Nova Scotia, or you can do in Nova Scotia and you can't do in Ontario. So there is still not an even playing field, and that is something that has been ongoing as far as advocating for the profession, trying to get everyone on a a standard scope of practice so that if you move from one province to the other, it's just a matter of getting your license transferred and you're up to speed.
You're in Nova Scotia, I believe. Where are you in? Beautiful
Yes.
province. Where are you living?
Cape Breton, the best
Oh,
part of the province.
the best part of the province. You have got, I think you told me, 2 colleges. Perfect example of the
Yes.
system in Canada. You've got a regulated career college, a private college, and you've got a community college. You've got Cape
Yes.
Breton Business College, and you've got Nova Scotia Community College, I believe, who are
Yes.
graduating the
Correct.
dental assistants into the system. Do you equal value for the 2 that come out of the colleges right into the practices?
I do. And because when you complete your studies, you have to do a national exam in order to get your license.
So
So if a school is not teaching everything that needs to be taught, they're not going to pass their exam. And both schools do have a good record of students passing their NDAEB.
so that's good news. There's a level. So there's a third party accreditation that says each graduate met the requirements, met the standards, passed an exam. That's the system working correctly.
Yes, correct.
What's the shortage like in Nova Scotia? I know you represent the Canadian Association, but I always like to make it a little
Yeah.
personal.
Well,
How's Nova
Nova
Scotia
Scotia,
looking?
I've been on the Nova Scotia board for a lot of years, so I do have more knowledge about Nova Scotia for sure. There's always someone looking for a dental assistant in Nova Scotia. You could go on a website probably today and see jobs. In fact, Air Group have a job opening out there for dental assistant. Now, come June, we'll graduate probably 30 plus between the two schools. Most of them will get a job because you have to remember we're dealing with a mainly female profession.
Mhm.
There are some male dental assistants out there. You're dealing with a younger group of people, the majority of them. So you're dealing with maternity leaves. So the need is there.
The need is always there, and then retirements and it just
Retirement, exactly.
a constant movement of people. Are you seeing some of the, dental assistant practices where people are almost freelancers and jump around in replacement time? I'm hear from dentists a lot that finding replacement people is a real challenge to allow teams
There are
off.
There are some that have retired and are doing that, and just kind of that way they can pick and choose how many days they wanna work. I work within one of the corporate dental groups,
Yes.
so ours tend to maybe jump around from one office to another because our group has 7 offices
Mhm.
within it.
Yeah.
So ours, dental assistants will go from one office to the other as needed, but most of them do have a home base.
So let's talk about the career again. How can we better help Canadians understand the skill and the responsibilities involved in dental assisting, what the job is?
I think and I don't know if this is where I wanna say this, but I think the perception they have to realize is that this is a healthcare profession, and people that are sitting beside the dentist have to be trained, have to have a license, have to follow all the standard procedures of what needs to be done. I think we still have to educate patients because I think a lot of them don't know a dental hygienist from a dental assistant.
Mhm.
Sometimes they don't even know if they're talking to the dentist when they first come in. So I always introduced myself to the patient. Said, "Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm the doctor's dental assistant. I'm here to help her and help you with whatever needs to be done."
What do you think success looks like in elevating public awareness? Is there efforts from your association? Is it government assistance? What do you need to make that story get told?
Hmm. I think the title of a dental assistant becoming a household name
Mhm.
and that it's understood that just like a dentist or a doctor, we are a professional. Um, and for them to understand what our role is and to value our role. Education, it just goes back to education. It's paramount that we advocate for ourselves to make people understand who we are, and what our value is.
When you think about the future of dental assisting in Canada, Actually, I was going to say what gives you optimism is what I'd written for myself today, but you do genuinely come across as optimistic. I haven't heard anything negative from you, Natalie, but what makes you optimistic about the practice and the career?
First of all, I think if I wasn't optimistic, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now.
Awesome.
I don't think I would have been involved with the association at the provincial level and then stepped in when they needed someone at the Canadian level from our province and stepped in when they needed someone to fill the presidency. So that goes with me being optimistic about the profession. Um, but I'm optimistic. There's a large group across the country that we're strong, and I'm hopeful that government, our peers, and the public will recognize the huge role we play in the safety and care of our patients. With government's new plan, as we talked about, the CDCP, the government's finally aware of the importance of dental care, which we talked about how it is important and if it can affect your whole health. And we need to get our heads focused on those who are providing the care and that it's done by trained professionals.
I like that. Trained professionals, and it's not about the institution they graduate from. It's the recognition of the accreditation and the programs and the regulation that's involved in that. There's a role for everybody to play to make sure we get those trained professionals. Do you guys have an estimate number? I'm not, this might be an unfair question of how many dental assistants are needed in Canada?
I don't rate off, and I'll tell you part of the reason I don't is our association has gone through a little bit of a change. Um, our ED resigned
Mm.
last August. We just got a new admin person in place. So some of the numbers that I would have had easily pulled, I'm not sure where to look for them yet because, and even our website was changing. So
It's always
those things weren't,
It's always a challenge when
there's,
governments report at
oh,
different times in different ways in different years, and it's often data is one of our biggest challenges to tell our stories, and
no,
I'm assuming it's the same for you.
it is.
Before we come back to dental, we always ask people a couple of questions. We put them on the spot. So I'm gonna turn one around because I understand that you're a bit of a mentor in the sector. Talk to me about why you feel that's important and why you do it. Because we like students to hear about that, what you get out of a college, what you get out of a career, and how much you can give back, because we think it's an important part of our systems in Canada. So, what does the mentoring look like for you? Why do you do it?
I think I do it because of the love of the profession.
Mhm.
I've always loved dental assisting from the first day I started. But what's really funny is I had no idea what a trained dental assistant, did before I went into the program. It was just one of those things that popped into my head one day and said, in grade 12, yeah, you know what? I think I'll apply for dental assisting. No idea what it really entailed because I went to an older dentist who didn't do four-handed dentistry, did most of everything himself. So once I got out of school and I started working, um, I got involved with the association at the provincial level fairly soon into my career and just love to talk about it. So when CBBC started their class, I became a fixture every year. I'm there probably 3 times a year meeting with the class, letting them know the rewarding part of it, letting them know how important it is to realize it's a profession, it's a career, it's not just a job you go to. Love to give them examples of what's going on,
Mhm.
what I've encountered, what they may encounter, what they should look for, and what they should ask. Don't be scared to ask when you go on your placement. So I'd love to be able to exchange stories with them and teach them a few tricks of the trade.
You've got a great relationship with Cape Breton Business College, don't you?
I do.
It's not saying
I
you don't
do.
have a great one with Nova Scotia Community College, but CBBC is
We
one of
do
my
too.
members. They're one of my members,
Yeah.
so I'm intrigued to see you see that hands-on, smaller classrooms, really intimate teaching, don't you?
Yes.
And Nova
And
Scotia
I
Community
live
College
fairly close.
and Nova Scotia Community College is a wonderful institution. I've got to know a few of their leaders. They really are a good institution as well.
They are, and they do a lot of advocacy. They have a really nice program at the beginning of the year. They call it their dental cafe, where they bring in the Nova Scotia Dental Assistant Association, Canadian Dental Assistant Association, the NSRDDA, some doctors, some former students, and just have a roundtable discussions. It's a super event.
What's What's the greatest we ask somebody about a skill that's made them successful, but I wanna turn this. What's a skill that makes a dental assistant successful? Because it's one that you obviously had for 35 years, but somebody coming into the practice, someone going into college can figure out, "I gotta learn how to be good at that." And it might not be the technical skill, right? Is it empathy? Is it connection and calming a patient? I'm a terrible dental patient, terrible. And
Couldn't
it's
tell you how many hands I've held over the years.
yeah, I'm borderline gas every time I go in there just to get me through the process, and is I'll jump out of an airplane with a parachute someday and not be surprised, but that dental office freaks me out. So what's a skill that you suggest to somebody? That's the thing you're really gonna need to know.
Adaptability, the
Mm,
ability to change lanes quickly. You may have a patient in the chair that you think, oh, you bring them in, they're very calm, and then all of a sudden you get ready to hand over the freezing to the patient, the anesthetic to the dentist, and they just, their horns come out.
it's a bit of a long needle,
They look very long, but they're not.
and it
But
might
then,
go ahead.
very quickly, you wanna change your direction there and concentrate on the patient all of a sudden to calm them, to get them through that next part. Or you could be in the middle of doing a filling and something breaks that you didn't anticipate, so you have to change your lanes. "Oh, I'm gonna need this and this and this." So I think adaptability is really important, thinking on your feet.
A a I chuckle, my dental assistant once said to me, "The jaw can be one of the most strongest muscles in the in the body or bone, incredibly powerful when it
Yep.
wants to be in the way."
Oh, the tongue? Try to hold that back sometimes.
And I think we're talking to the patient, not our words, right?
Yes,
I agree
exactly.
with you. I and you think you've got it calm, and you actually don't. You're pushing back, and you think you're being a great patient, but you're pushing that thing right out of their mouth.
Yep,
Let's
yep,
finish
for
up here with
sure.
something, because 'cause we're in Dental Assistant Recognition Week when this episode airs. What does that mean to you, personally, to feel that actually people are at some point stopping and recognizing something that has been your career, your passion?
For me, I think the biggest person I wanna hope recognizes the dental assistant is the dentist. And I know from personal experience, there are dentists out there that don't give dental assistant recognition week a second thought. I was very fortunate. My dentist always did. She always took me out for lunch. She always got me a gift. We do the same. We make sure we recognize them within our group now. But just so the general public knows too. And I don't know if you have seen our theme for this year. So our theme for Dental Assistant Recognition Week is Smile Canada, dental assistants make it happen.
Love it.
So that's our theme. That's what we want people to realize because when it comes right down to brass tacks, a dentist will cancel his day if he cannot get a dental assistant because he can't work without one.
Really important part of the practice, right? And it's interesting that
Really are.
another part that's come up interesting, and it's not your role, but lately we've been training a lot more dental office and medical office assistants to run the practice.
Mhm.
As there's a shortage of people at that front desk that know how to do the paperwork, keep the operation running, because it's different than running a different kind of office too, right?
It is, and if you can get someone who has a dental background, because part of my job now is office manager, so I see both sides of the practice now. I know the clinical, I can do the clinical, but I also know the business side of it, and it's really helpful when you have that clinical side to keep the business side running.
Nice. It's nice to see that respect from both sides, and it's funny, I've been in dental offices when people aren't getting along, and that's a little bit of a rough day, but there's a real camaraderie and joking that everywhere I've ever been, I've got a great dentist here in Ottawa, and the back and forth inside that office is so much fun to watch, actually, and
Yep,
I think I would say there's probably 3 or 4 dentists, and then so you know how many big that's probably 7 or 8 people in the working with them, keeping them moving. And there's a real fun banter and laughter, and I'm assuming it's part of that patient care, keep everybody relaxed, right?
It is, and that's one thing that I've heard from patients a lot over the years is, "You always seem like you're having so much fun in the office." And it's like, well, what kind of fun is it to come to work and be grumpy or not torment or, it makes for a long day if you're that serious
Yep.
about things.
So you're optimistic. You think it's a great career path and you really encourage people to take a look at it. How would a student best take a peek at wanting to become a dental assistant before they engage? Because it's interesting. A lot of our programs, we try and spend that time because our institutions are smaller to make sure before they invest a year for $10,000 in student loans, are you going to come out the far side and be a good fit? I was on the phone with a PSW, personal support worker. I think they call them healthcare aides where you are, program, and they make sure they get in a care home before they start the program to know what the end is going to be, right?
Exactly. Most offices are more than willing to have someone come in and observe before they enter a program. In fact, a lot of the schools that I know of will encourage that before you enroll. Talk to an office, see if they'll let you go in and observe, see what it's about. You could be like me and have no idea what a dental assistant actually did. It just sounded like a good title.
Sound like a good job and a good career, and it's worked out that way, huh?
It has worked out very, very well for me.
Anything else you want to say today? We try and keep this under a half hour. Anything else that you want to let people know about being a dental assistant or what your big, do you have a big ask in Ottawa these days or in the province that's important to your association?
I guess, just to read what we have on our poster is kind of neat. It says, "From clinic to classroom,
Mm-hmm.
dental assistants play a vital role in keeping Canadians smiling." The Dental Assistant Recognition Week. The CDA invites everyone to celebrate the dedication and professionalism of dental assistants nationwide. The helping hands behind every bright smile is who your dental assistant is.
Wonderful. What a great message. What a great way to end this. And you are optimistic. And again, people can't see it. Natalie's been smiling the whole time. And we've had a great conversation. But so for me today to wrap up, I'm just thinking what today's conversation reinforces is that sustaining Canada's oral health workforce takes a lot of work, a lot of coordination from the classrooms, the clinics, where students trains to the national leadership shaping standards and expectations. And when preparation, regulation, and advocacy are all aligned, Canadians benefit. And I have to tell you at NAC, we're proud to support that alignment through the work of our colleges, but also in some of these new engagements we're having with associations that do the important work. So, Natalie, thank you for taking some time to join us here. I think it's going to be a
Thank
great
you.
Dental Assistant Awareness Week and celebration, and I wish you all the best. I thank you for coming today. And with that, we'll wrap up this week's edition, a special episode because we're going to have more than one this week for the dental practices, dental assistants. We'll wrap up this week's episode of the EdUp Canada podcast, and we look forward to having you all back again next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to another episode of the EdUp Canada podcast. We release new episodes regularly, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know when they are officially out. If you love this episode, please leave a 4- or 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts so that others can also discover how a set of skills can lead to success. Thanks for learning with us.